I'd like to welcome to the stage Simon Lidzen, CEO and co-founder of Fast Track.
So, hi everyone, it's really cool to be here. Nice to see you. I am going to speak about this subject today, riding on the new wave, how AI-powered CRM is changing organizations as we know them. It's really good to be back on this stage again. I was here last time in New York and also in Valletta in October. All right, so today I'm going to speak about the effectiveness of our organizations and how to achieve an unprecedented level of productivity. And I'm going to focus on how the introduction of this new tech and AI is changing our organizations forever. I'm also going to do a demo and show you some truly remarkable stuff. And you're going to learn that the change that we think is about to happen is already here. It's happening right now. And for those who don't know me, I am Simon. I am the CEO and co-founder of this company, Fast Track. Fast Track, in very simple terms, is a disruptor, is a tech disruptor. And we have a vision to digitalize the iGaming industry and sportsbook industry and deliver the industry-first self-learning engagement platform. And in pursuit of doing that, we have built Fast Track CRM. And Fast Track CRM is very special because we have reimagined the work process on how you communicate with your players. And we have run the platform exclusively on real-time data from the very inception. We monitor every single move that the player makes. And it's deeply connected with the operator's infrastructure, so that allows them to run multi-orchestration or multi-channel orchestration directly from one central system. So it's really cool. And Fast Track CRM is built specifically for the online casino and sportsbook industry. So today, the platform is used by hundreds of operators all around the globe, and I believe we are the fastest growing solution in the market today. So I assume everyone had a chance to experience a little bit of ChatGPT at some point this year, end of last year, like I don't know how early you guys were, but I was so happy when I saw that for the first time. And I want to tell you a little bit about my story in experiencing ChatGPT the very first time, because we've been waiting for that technology for so long. Like, there's been language technology that has been around in the market for some time, but what happened at that stage when ChatGPT came in and you started like interacting with it in that style, it was something different. And I'm not sure if any of you have seen any of my previous talks, but a while back, we introduced the singularity model, which allows our operator partners to build one-to-one experiences. And if you look at traditional marketing platforms, they have a very core limitation in the work process that only allows them to build one campaign to target one group of players at a time. Now, with the singularity model, however, we have introduced a different concept. You build a content library, and you pack that content library with everything you can think of in terms of different type of offers that you can give to your players, newsletters, information, and all of that, and everything that is relevant for your brand. And then the system is relying on an AI engine underneath it to handpick what is actually being going out to the players. So in a nutshell, you can imagine that you are going to run a campaign, and you can have hundreds of different campaigns on one side, and then you can have millions of players on the other side, and then you can rely on the platform in itself to ensure that the player is targeted at the right time, with the right content, with the right offer, in the right channels to engage on every single individual. So this new way of working allows our partners to scale with one-to-one experiences, and this is the ultimate level of personalization. Now, this is great, but it also has a backside. To build these content libraries, to produce these vast amounts of content that you're going to have to put into the system, it takes time. Yeah? So we thought back then, already at the drawing board when we built the singularity model, okay, if we could overcome that sort of hassle of building and producing content, how powerful that could be. So when I got my hands on ChatGPT for the first time, that was one of the first experiments that I did with Fast Track. And And I looked at that and said, like, okay, what if, we had the capability to do this? And it worked. It worked really, really, really well. That's the conclusion. So some have challenged sort of the engine and the capabilities of that tech, and it's like repetitive. You can tell it apart from a human communication. It lacks creativity in some aspects. It's not my experience. It's not my experience at all. It's actually completely opposite. Like, if you know how to interact with it, if you play around with it long enough, you start realizing how to communicate back and forth, you can produce really, really great results. It's really, really cool. So I called my team, and they hit the ground running the very next day. So they started developing. The integration that we have with OpenAI right now makes this sort of production line of content into the Singularity model completely seamless. You can do that in an instant. So it's really, really exciting. So it allows us to move really, really fast, and that helps in terms of growth, right? So, as I mentioned, there is a lot of skeptics in terms of this tech, but for me, it's a no-brainer. This technology and the solutions that are going to be built on the back of it, it's going to be a game changer in terms of productivity for our industry. There is no doubt about that. I give it a year, and most of us will unknowingly be interacting with this tech in one way or another, whether it's OpenAI or Bard or anything else that is out there. And you're all going to feel like you can't imagine a life without it, because it wouldn't work anymore. You would just adapt to it so quickly. That's what's going to happen. This is a little bit of a BlackBerry versus iPhone moment. So I think everyone needs to embrace that and actually don't resist the fact that this technology is being rolled out, but embrace it and learn from it and see how you can become competitive with this type of technology and how you can embed it in your organizations. I want to continue on this thread a little bit. And I want to talk about productivity, because that's what this is all about. So as leaders of organizations, we're sitting here in all of these rooms, right? And we have so much that we want to do in terms of improving our businesses. I woke up this morning and I had tons of ideas. I have that every morning. It happens. It's just flowing. It's an instant. And we need to ask ourselves, are we fast enough? Right? Are we feeling that we're getting enough value from our teams? Go with me for this a bit, okay? Because it doesn't really matter if you're an operator, if you're a supplier, whomever in this room right now. It applies to all of us, because imagine that you would like to change something. Let's pick up, your customers, and you want to change the onboarding playbook for your customers. If you gather the team right now, you call them in and you tell them, like, I want to change this. Like, I want to try something new. How long is it truly going to take you to get that out on the ground? How long is it going to take to release that project? And then think about it. Is that like the answer that you come up with? Are you satisfied with that answer? Is that quickly enough? Are you faster than your competitors? I think it's a relevant question to be asking. And if you are one of the people that are satisfied, that you're having a really good productivity in your teams and you are seeing those things being realized, good for you. I think you're doing really well. That's great. Reality is, though, that most leaders are experiencing a lot of frustration in terms of the ideas that we have in our heads that we want to launch and we want to test in the market, and it takes way too long to launch it. And it's a pain. It's like sort of these new ideas are not getting shipped nearly quickly enough in terms of what we want to do. So to build productive teams, if you don't want to build truly productive teams, it comes back to us as leaders, right? In order to create the right environments for our teams to excel. That's what we are here to do. Now, we need to empower these teams with the right platform, with the right tools, with the right data. We need to provide them with clarity in terms of principles that they can work within so they can make their own decisions. We need to make sure that they have access to the right type of resource in their teams or freelancers, whatever it might be. And we need to try to eliminate cross-team dependencies, because that costs a lot of time. So if you want to be truly productive, those are the things that you need to sort of deliver against. And operators in particular are in operational team, in operators, they're experiencing a lot of difficulties in achieving productivity. It's hard. It's very, very hard. And in most cases, they don't have the right environments that they're working in today. And I want to focus on those capabilities that tech presents on itself right now a little bit in the modern world. And I want to give you a first-hand demonstration on what that would look like when it's done right. How it will result in these unprecedented levels of productivity, and how we can help you ship out ideas quicker. But before I do that, I want to step in and show you a slide and see a little bit what the organizations look like. So if I take the typical operator right now, and I put it here on the screen, and I have 100 headcounts in that operator, so you can scale that any directions. If you have 200, you would just like double this. The typical operator would have about 43 people in operations. These are your customer support, risk payments, payment operations, responsible gaming type of people, okay? CRM, content, type translations, all of that. Administrative, that responds to finance, it's your HR, other supporting roles, legal. Then you have the product teams. The product teams would include your developers, it would include your product management, your UX team, all of these guys. And then you have the marketing at the last, which is 6 people here. This is what the typical organization looks like in iGaming right now. And we can agree on one thing, which is that the operational cake of this is quite big. It takes a lot of resource in order to maintain and service our player databases. There's no question about that. But it gets quite interesting when I flip this, because I created and innovated a new little category, which I call the value category. So if I'm trying to break down, everyone in the organization obviously brings value to your organization in the context they've been put in, but break it down into value creators and value retainers. I think that's an interesting split. So these are the roles that goes into value creators. These are your type of, you think of your producers, your creative thinkers, your builders, your coders, your leaders in the organization. Their purpose and existence in your organization is to create value. They are operating with minimum guidance. They're self-managed. They are someone that is going to find and source their own information in order to drive their work forward. Now, the other group, the value retainers, that is, on the other hand, the people that are doing repetitive work and is working very specific instructions. What we are categorizing in here is customer support teams, you have CRM executives, you've got translators, you've got copywriters, you've got all of that sort of stuff. And it's quite interesting when you're looking at this, because the reality is that I'm trying to show you that a large chunk of your organization right now as an operator can be automated. Because when you're looking at these value retention sort of activities, a large chunk of that can be automated. So if we embed and take advantage of the technology that is available today, it is perfectly reasonable to assume that we can reduce that by about 50%. We can do that right now if we are like taking our efforts to go in the right steps and doing that. That would in turn reduce the headcounts in an operator by 20%. Okay? So that's quite significant. Now that's not going to just free up time. It's also going to provide with a lot more flexibility to change how we execute and the speed of delivery. So let me give you an example of that by taking you through a more practical example of how that works, and also show you a little bit where the process can be broken. I'm not sure you're familiar with the process of creating promotions and sending promotions, but it's something that an operator would do every day. So it starts with creating a creative concept and a brief that would then be put into some project management system. You would get some copywriter to look at the copy. You would then design some assets for each channel. You would then go in and send this on in some Excel sheet over to your translators, and you would get that out to some freelancers on the other side. You would then send, hopefully, if you have a campaign that works, over to a compliance review. After you get a compliance review, you would prepare your segment. In best cases, you would have that in the platform, but in some cases, you have to go to your BI team to get this done. Then you would have to build the whole campaigns. You build the bonus, you build the email, you build the SMS, you build the notifications, and then you go into QA and proofreading. And in some cases, that is a test email, because that's all we have the ability to do with the platform and the tools that we have available, and then ultimately you distribute. So think about this process that teams are working through every day. You have to go to this level of detail in order to understand where you can truly gain from this type of technology. And I wanted to show you a demo, so I'm going to show you a small video right now to take you through what this looks like inside Fast Track right now when you're using an AI-generated campaign. Okay, cool. So now we're looking at the platform, logging into it. And then I was thinking, since it's iGaming Next is Wednesday, we can talk about doing a Wednesday reactivation campaign to our players. So that would go in, it would set up a new activity, and we would start by giving it a name and sort of select which brands that we want to send it on. In this particular case, it's a multi-brand sort of solution that has been deployed. And we would then scroll down and pick that we wanted to send it on this particular day. And as you can see, a little bubble here in the top right corner. It's a little bit hard to see. I get that from the back, okay? But it's no problem. I can show you this firsthand from outside after. Is that it's using AI technology to then pick what time it's been sent during the day. We would then pick our segments in active players, but then we're coming on to the cool stuff. So then we have the option now to create AI-generated campaign within the platform. So that opens up this conversation style brief. So you can paste your campaign brief straight in here instead, right? So write me content for a campaign to reactivate churn casino players, give the user 10 free spins as soon as they log in, and give them a match deposit bonus of 100% up to 100 euro on the next deposit. Be personal in messages, include emojis, best practices when it comes to emails, etc. So once this gets submitted, what the platform does is that it automatically generates in an instant. It writes you an email, it writes the site notifications, and it writes the SMS that you're going to send using this technology. And it does that in an instant. And you can continue to work with it in a similar fashion that you've done in the conversation style on that. So you can create an A/B test, which was just created in front of you now. You can then say that you want to translate this into Spanish. And you can add anything that you want here. So we see that coming up. So it's taking care of the translation straight in front of you as well, which is auto-generated. And then after the campaign has been created, you just click one button and suddenly the activity is ready to go. Some other features that we have harvested from this to demonstrate the capabilities of that platform is to have translations. You can access only the translation module if you want, if you wish here as well. You get a drop down to auto-generate the translation for any campaign. So you just click the language that you want to do, and in a matter of seconds, you will have a translated version of that campaign. If you go into any action, you can highlight any text field in the entire system, and it's going to give you the option to suggest a different way to write that piece of content. So here is highlighting the body of an email, and it gets 3 different options. And as you can see, it's updating on the left-hand side as it's sort of inserting that. So this is a little demo that I wanted to show you that gives you a little bit of an idea of what the future in terms of these operational tools and platforms are going to look like. So I'm going to wrap this up now because I know I'm a little bit out of time. I'm getting eyes on me. So what I think is incredible about this, you look at this, right? It's really cool. It's right in front of us. It's right here. It's right now. And it has eliminated pretty much that entire workflow that I just spoke about. We have hired so many people in all of these different buckets to get through that process. And right now, we're going to be able to have a completely different configuration of our organizations. So we consider this a hygiene in terms of being invested in these type of technologies and help our partners achieve better results than ever. And what I want you guys to take away from this is to take this back, please. Go into your own organizations, ask someone to help you do a review of the value retention sort of teams in your organization and see what you can do in order to optimize and find this type of technology to help that optimization. With that, I want to thank you guys for listening. Thank you very much for having me today.